Hey, landscape analysis students, this is Dr. Dogweiler, and I'm here to give you the quick rundown on what a watershed is. This is a key concept for this week's project, and for the next couple of projects after this. We'll be dealing with watersheds for about the next month. All right, let's jump right in. So what is a watershed? Watershed is all the area on a landscape that drains to a specific point. So here I have an example. In the center of the slide is here is the Rush Pine Creek watershed. That watershed has two main streams and several tributaries to those streams in it. Pine Creek is over here on the west side. Rush Creek drains the eastern side of the watershed, and Pine and Rush join here down towards the bottom to become Lower Rush Creek. So we can take the Pine Creek watershed, which is this whole unit that's outlined here with all four colors, and we can subdivide it into the four sub-watersheds that are shown here: Upper, Middle, and Lower Rush Creek and the Pine Creek sub-watershed. Those four sub-watersheds nest together to the larger Rush Pine Creek watershed. Those are part of the larger Root River watershed, and the Root River watershed drains east to the Mississippi River and ultimately out to the Gulf of Mexico. So watersheds have different spaces. This is one of the reasons we want to map them, and we use GIS to do those maps. That's what you're going to be learning to do. So the channel, which is where the actual water is that's flowing in the stream of the watershed, that's within a floodplain. The floodplain's within a larger stream valley where the active channel meanders back and forth and deposits sediment and so forth and erodes things. The stream valley is part of the larger watershed, which includes not just the stream channel itself, but all the land and the trees and the cities and the forests and the people and the topography that's in that basin. So let's come back to this concept of what is a watershed. It's all the area that drains to a specific point in the landscape. So pour points are the point to which everything drains. So for the Upper Rush Creek watershed, all the water that falls in this sort of purple area here eventually flows out through the pour point, which is the mouth of the watershed. That pour point, by definition, topographically, is the lowest point in the watershed because water flows downhill, so all the water is going to flow to the lowest point in the watershed. Watersheds are delineated by topography. And you can think about this: if you have a ridge or a mountaintop or something, if you rain on it, all the rain on one side of a mountain or a ridge line is going to flow in one direction, and the rain on the other side is going to flow in the other direction. And that defines the boundary between a watershed. Which direction is that water going to flow, and ultimately which stream will it flow out through? And we've already mentioned the idea that watersheds are nested. So just to look at this at the really big picture, the Mississippi River watershed is the largest watershed in North America, drains something like 31 or 32 states and Canadian provinces. The Mississippi River watershed is actually made up of several large rivers: the Arkansas River, the Missouri River, the Upper Mississippi River, the Ohio River, and they all join together to form larger and larger streams until the Lower Mississippi finally flows into the Gulf of Mexico. And the Rush Pine Creek watershed and the Root River watershed that we just talked about are just small sub-watersheds within the larger Upper Mississippi River watershed, which flows into the Lower Mississippi watershed into the Gulf of Mexico. So the watershed is context. So when we do lots of landscape analysis that we might do in GIS happens at the watershed scale. We're often interested in what are the factors that are influencing the quality, the quantity of water in a watershed, or why a watershed is particularly flashy and prone to flash floods, which can be dangerous for the people that live there. And so within a watershed, to understand those questions, we might map things like the topography. Steeper slopes tend to drain water faster than flatter slopes. The type of vegetation that's there, Forests and prairies tend to soak up and absorb lots of water and keep it from flowing away, whereas agricultural lands might not be able to hold as much water and let more of that water run off to an urban setting, which is maybe the flashiest, the place where the least water can be absorbed because there's lots of impervious surface like asphalt and concrete and roofs that can't absorb water at all and just shed it and get it into the stream fast where it becomes a big flood very quickly. So we also, other things we might map in a watershed, shown over here on the right side of the screen, is the types of land use. So we have croplands, grasslands, forest, developed. You can see there's not much urban developed land use within this watershed. Most of the watershed, about 60%, is cropland. So that's going to affect how fast the water runs off, how much of it gets absorbed and held in the soil, and so forth. All right, so that's a quick overview of what a watershed is. Now on to the GIS portion of this week's project.